Hey there! Welcome, Class 10 students, to this incredibly special Visual Memory Booster Explainer. Today, we're tackling the very first lesson of your Telangana social syllabus, India's relief features. If you've been looking for a fun, colorful, and just super effective way to master these concepts from the ground up, you are in the exact right place. We're going to lock this crucial syllabus completely into your memory. Let's ditch those massive textbook paragraphs for a bit, okay? We're going to break down every mountain, river, and plain visually, so you are absolutely ready to crush it and score top marks on your exams.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our visual roadmap for today's revision. We'll be hitting up 1. Tectonic origins, 2. The Himalayas, 3. Northern plains, 4. Plateaus and deserts, 5. Coasts and islands, and finally, 6. Their overall importance.
Before we really get rolling on our tour, let's get our foundational key word absolutely crystal clear. What exactly do we mean by relief? Well, relief simply refers to the physical variations on the Earth's surface. Just think of the different shapes and heights of the land, the towering mountains, the flat plains, the elevated plateaus, the vast deserts. All of these different physical variations combined make up the relief features of a country. So now that we've got that down, let's look at how India got these wild features in the first place.
Section 1. Tectonic Origins of India. Let's kick things off with an epic origin story, full of planetary collisions.
Picture this. Millions of years ago, all the land on Earth was just one giant supercontinent called Pangaea, completely surrounded by a massive ocean. Over time, thanks to plate tectonics, this huge landmass split apart. Now, India's original home was actually a southern landmass called Gondwana land. Imagine this massive chunk of rock, the Indian plate, just breaking off from Gondwana and slowly drifting north over thousands and thousands of years. Eventually, boom, it violently smashed right into the giant Eurasian plate, which was part of the northern Angara landmass. The incredible compressional force of this colossal crash literally forced the land between them to buckle and fold upwards into the sky, creating the mighty fold mountains we know today.
Section 2. The mighty Himalayan ranges. Let's head way up north and explore the youngest fold mountains in the entire world.
To really understand the sheer scale of the Himalayas, just wrap your head around this number, 2,400 kilometers. That is how far these continuous mountains stretch. They form a massive natural wall spanning all the way from Jammu and Kashmir in the west to Arunachal Pradesh in the east. It's actually wider in the west, roughly 400 to 500 kilometers thick, and then it narrows down to about 150 to 200 kilometers in the east. It is a gigantic physical barrier. Now, the Himalayas aren't just one single wall. They're actually divided into 3 distinct parallel ranges with some pretty extreme height differences. Way up at the very top, you have the Himadri, or the Greater Himalayas, averaging a whopping 6,100 meters high. This is where you'll find giants like Mount Everest and K2. It's permanently freezing up there, and it's actually the birthplace of our perennial rivers. Next, stepping down a bit, we have the Himachal, or Middle Himalayas. These average around 4,500 meters, and they're famous for beautiful hill stations like Shimla and Nainital. And finally, the lowest and outermost range, which was formed much later, is the Shivaliks, averaging just around 1,200 meters. Speaking of the Shivaliks, here is a highly testable keyword for you: dune. See, as continuous rivers rush down from the super-high Himadri and Himachal ranges, they eventually hit the continuous mountains of the Shivaliks. Over time, the sheer, powerful force of all that rushing water actually breaks right through the mountains, creating these really unique split valleys called dunes. The most famous example, of course, is Dehradun, the capital of Uttarakhand. Definitely keep that term locked in your memory for the exams.
Section 3, the fertile northern plains. We're leaving those freezing peaks behind and heading down to some highly fertile lands.
All right, pay attention, because this is one of the most expected topics for your exams. As rivers flow down from the Himalayas, they carry tons and tons of fine sediments and sand with them. But when they finally hit flat land, they drop all this material in 4 very distinct steps, or zones. First up, the river drops the heavier stones and pebbles right at the base of the mountains. That's the porous Babar zone. Next, the water emerges to create this incredibly swampy, marshy forest area called the Tarai. Further down, you hit the Bangar, which is basically the older, slightly elevated alluvial soil. And finally, right by the riverbanks where it frequently floods, the river deposits fresh, highly fertile new soil, and we call that the Khadar. Now, these massive plains didn't just appear out of thin air. They are the handiwork of 3 giant river systems, the Indus, the Ganga, and the Brahmaputra. Because of all that fresh alluvial soil we just talked about, this land is an absolute goldmine for agriculture. In the Indus region, for example, you'll find the Doab, which literally translates to the exceptionally fertile land trapped between two rivers. Because this flat land offers easy transport, endless water, and abundant crops, it really shouldn't be a surprise that it is the most densely populated region in all of India. Though, a quick note, if you head east to the Brahmaputra Plains, you do have to watch out for frequent floods and landslides because the soil there is quite loose.
Section 4. Ancient Plateaus and Deserts. We are transitioning south into ancient rocky terrains and some seriously arid lands. The Peninsular Plateau is this massive landform made of ancient volcanic, igneous, and metamorphic rocks. It's actually divided into two major chunks, and the natural boundary splitting them right down the middle is the Narmada River. To the north of the Narmada, you've got the Central Highlands, things like the Malwa and Chota Nagpur plateaus, which are incredibly rich in minerals. Think places like Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. But if you look south of the Narmada River, that's where the massive Deccan Plateau lies. It takes the shape of a huge inverted triangle and covers almost the entirety of South India.
So, the crucial point you got to nail here is understanding the edges of this Deccan Plateau. It's a classic exam question. On the west side, facing the Arabian Sea, we have the Western Ghats. These are taller, continuous mountain ranges that are just absolutely packed with biodiversity. On the east side, facing the Bay of Bengal, you have the Eastern Ghats. Unlike the west, the Eastern Ghats are much lower in height and they aren't continuous. They're actually broken up by wide, fertile river deltas from rivers like the Godavari and Krishna as they flow out into the sea.
Let's take a sharp turn to the northwest of India, right into Rajasthan. 150 millimeters. That is the extremely low amount of annual rainfall that the Thar Desert receives. Because of this severe lack of water, there is barely any human settlement. And the vegetation? Well, it's pretty much limited to thorny shrubs and cactus.
It is so incredibly hot and dry in the Thar Desert that there is literally only one significant river in the entire region, the Luni River. And honestly, here's an amazing fact for your memory. It is so dry out there that the Luni River doesn't even make it to the Arabian Sea. The water literally just evaporates and sinks straight into the desert sand before it ever reaches the coast. Wild, right? Section 5. Coasts and Island Groups. Time to escape that harsh desert heat and cool things off at India's tropical edges.
Take a mental screenshot of this right now, because the naming of India's coastlines is highly testable. Starting on the narrow west coast, Maharashtra and Goa's shoreline is called the Konkan coast. Moving down to Karnataka, it's the Kanara coast, and Kerala's shores are known as the Malabar coast. Now let's jump over to the wider east coast. Odisha's coastline is the Utkal coast, Andhra Pradesh has the Sircar coast, and Tamil Nadu features the Coromandel coast. Keep in mind those eastern coasts are famous for their rich, fertile deltas, which make them fantastic for agriculture.
Now, India's relief features don't just stop at the mainland. We've also got two incredible island groups. Over in the Bay of Bengal, we have the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which actually have ancient volcanic origins, like there are literal dead volcanoes there. Fun but slightly sad fact, the southernmost point of India, Indira Point, was located here before it tragically submerged during the 2004 tsunami. On the flip side, over in the Arabian Sea, we have the Lakshadweep Islands. These are totally different. They are of coral origin, meaning they were formed by tiny marine plant-like ecosystems. That makes them incredibly rich in fish and marine biodiversity.
Section 6. Why relief features matter. Let's pull everything together and see how this builds up to the most important question of the syllabus.
If you get an 8-mark question on your Telangana State Board exam asking about the importance of India's relief features, this right here is your answer. These geographical features aren't just pretty random scenery. They are literally the master blueprint of the country. They directly dictate the climate and the monsoons, causing massive variations in temperature from the coasts up to the plateaus. They provide the highly fertile soil we absolutely need for agriculture in the plains. The mountains act as the birthplaces for our life-giving perennial rivers. And, of course, they support immense biodiversity, providing vital habitats for countless animals and birds in places like the Western Ghats. Plus, they create some pretty amazing locations for tourism.
I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking scenario to really cement your understanding today. What if the Himalayas were just suddenly removed? Just deleted? Think about it. The Himalayas act as a massive natural shield. Without them standing there to block the freezing, bitter winds blowing down from Siberia, the entire Indian subcontinent wouldn't be this agriculturally rich, thriving land we know today. It would turn into a freezing, barren, cold desert. Literally no way around it. That is the true life-altering power of relief features. I really hope this explainer has boosted your memory and made everything crystal clear. Best of luck on your Class 10 exams. You are absolutely going to do great.